Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Derica, and you're watching Steading Brews. Today we're making banana wine, which involves, crazy enough, bananas.
Now, to do this, we're actually going to be using two different kinds of bananas. Now, I don't mean varieties. I mean, one of them has been peeled and frozen because they were starting to go, and we knew we were going to make this just not that day. And the other one are whole bananas. So the first thing I'm going to do...
Peel and all.
Yeah, peel and all, is I'm going to dump out the frozen bananas, which are really sticky,
They're gross.
pretty gross looking, and still partially frozen. And why did we not freeze them? Well, I'll be honest, because we forgot, and because somebody is going to do it this way, and it's okay, because these are going to get boiled later anyway. First, let me get rid of this. Okay, the frozen bananas, I'm not going to even bother cutting, because their cell walls are mashed, mutated, whatever. These guys, however, I'm just going to cut into odd slices like this.
What he's attempting to do is increase the surface area.
Yep, exactly. And yes, the skins stay on for this. Sounds strange, but it's part of the process.
So what we did to prep these is we made sure to take off any stickers or other foreign objects, and then I washed them in cold water by just using my hands to rub off any debris that might have been on the peels.
Right, because as we said, they're going to be boiled, so you want them clean, but you don't necessarily have to like sanitize them. And it's probably going to be really boring watching me cut all this up. So I'm just going to cut the rest of this up and throw them in. Oh, one word about ripeness. You want them to be at the point where they feel a little squishy. You see a lot of brown spots, but it's not totally brown, okay? Because you want them to be ripe, but not like mush, because that's just gross. See you in a few. Okay, so we have our bananas all chopped up. Now I'm going to get a pot. And inside this pot, we have a boil-in bag for making beer, or for, you know, making banana wine today. And what it's been sanitized in...
the red bucket of sanitization!
Now, if you're wondering how much bananas, it's about 3 pounds altogether. I think it was like 3 pounds and an ounce, really. And about 1 pound of that is the frozen stuff. The other 2 pounds is the fresh bananas. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to seal up this bag, and I'm just going to kind of mash it around. This is nasty. I have to admit, this is gross. I really am not enjoying this at all. But it needs to be done for science. So I have to be honest, I have actually made banana wine once before. I used a slightly different process. I think this is an improved method. I gave it some thought. I did some research, looked around, and found out a few different ways to do this. What I did the first time was I made the banana tea, but I didn't do it in a bag, and it made a really messy must. It was very cloudy.
It was gross.
It was really gross looking. I also didn't use the skins the first time, and I think that might have been a mistake. Now, that wine is aging right now, and it actually tastes pretty darn good. You might see it when we do the tasting for this one, just as a comparison. But what I'm doing right now is just kind of breaking up any of the solids. This is... Those of you that have watched our videos before know that I have a thing about my hands getting sticky. Well, this is about as sticky as my hands get. And it's very cold, too, because the frozen ones were still partially frozen. But like I said, that's not really a problem. The problem is that it's sticky. But they are squished up pretty good by now. Yeah. And it's okay to mash them around because we want to get as much out of it as we can. We're actually going to make a banana tea. Okay, so our whole house is going to smell like bananas, which is actually really cool. When I made this the first time, the whole house smelled like bananas. This is a very simple banana wine in that there's not a lot of extras or adjuncts going in. The skins will provide a little bit of tannin and nutrient, and the bananas themselves are very sweet. It's one of the sweetest fruits out there, so they provide a lot of the sugars for it. We are going to be adding some sugar to this just to raise the ABV level. Let me go wash my hand. Okay, so now that I've mashed this up, just show you, see? Mashed bananas. I'm going to tie this guy off just with a loose knot. I like the ones that have this, like, what do they call it? Where you can slide it.
Oh, the cinch.
Drawstring. Drawstring. That's the word. Drawstring. Word of the day. Drawstring. That way I can just tie off a little knot like that and then throw the whole thing in here good to go. Now, if you can grab me that pitcher of water, please. We are going to boil this. So it's kind of like when you boil a beer, right? Except that we're extracting all the sugars from it, but not because of any enzymatic reaction. It's just going to be...
Are we measuring water?
There's about a gallon in here. It's not ultra critical because we're going to make a 1 gallon brew. So really I want probably more than a gallon of water, but let's start with 1 gallon for now for the boil. Some of it's going to evaporate. And that's okay, because we'll fill it up later when we put it into the fermenter. So, there's our gallon of water, bananas, and this is going to go onto the stove and boil for, I'm going to say 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, we'll be back. All right, so we brought this to a boil. We let it go for about a half an hour. Then we turned the heat off and let it sit for a couple hours until it cooled to... Well, it's slightly over body temperature now. It's probably about 102 degrees, which means it's safe for us to continue. And how are we going to continue? Really, really, really simple and a little bit odd. What we're going to do is get this into here, but we're going to keep that bag as well. Why? Well, because there's still some sugars in there that didn't quite come out. So what I'm going to do is get this bag out of here first. Doesn't it look so wonderful and appetizing? Look at that. It's like dishwater. This is just the most gross looking brew as it's being done. And what we're going to add, we have some golden raisins, and Derek chopped them up for us, 2 ounces, and we're going to add them to the bag. That way we don't have to worry about the mess later on. Makes life a little bit easier. Then I'm going to take the rest of the dishwater, and I'm going to pour it into here. But tell me, that doesn't just look like dirty dishwasher. All right, so it's all in. Now, because we don't really know how much sugar to add to this, I'm going to take a reading.
The liquid at this point may look entirely unappetizing, but it smells wonderful.
You didn't see that. Okay, I wasn't expecting a great amount of sugar to come out of this. I got a 1018, which means you could actually ferment this just like it is, and it'll come out to like, I don't know, maybe like 2%. Not really the way I want to go. So instead, what we're going to do, we're going to add some sugar. Okay, so since we had a 1.018 original gravity, and I want something like a 1.120 with this, we are going to be using Lalvin 71B because it does do the fruity ester thing, and we like that. And for this, it's fruit, you know? So I did some math, and we need about 2 pounds, 3 ounces of actual sugar. And I thought, well, you know what? This is banana. What goes good with banana? Brown sugar, right? So we actually didn't have enough brown sugar. Whoops. So I'm using 1 pound of brown sugar and 1 pound, 3 ounces of plain white sugar. That should give a really nice flavor. Before somebody asks, we actually mixed 2 different packages of brown sugar, so it was mostly dark brown with a little bit of light brown, in case you were wondering. But it's not that critical. It's moments like this that I wish I hadn't put the bag in. Okay, just gonna, real simple, dump our sugars in. And give it a good mix till it's all gone. I am using a silicone spoon because this is a plastic fermenter. If you use metal, you can scratch it. And if you scratch it, that's a chance for bacteria to form in there and find a hole that you can't clean out. So it's not a good idea. The brown sugar has changed the color, significantly so. It's actually like brown now. Shocker, right? Brown sugar changing the color. Who'd have thunk? I do have a little bit over a gallon of must here, so I might be slightly low on the gravity. We'll find out. And again, we're doing this in a 2-gallon fermenter, and there's a good reason for that. I want to have a full gallon when this is done, so that when I put it into conditioning, or also known as secondary fermentation, I have just a little bit of headspace, not a lot of headspace, in a full gallon, okay? So, just going to take our bag and graciously plop it right back in. Now that we have our must all put back together with the sugars in there, I'm just going to give it a little swirl here so that it all mixes together. And then I'm going to take another reading. Now, I know that even if I go a little bit low on this reading, it's all right because there's still a lot of sugars in the bananas, the solids that are still in that bag. So I know it'll go a little bit higher.
There's even going to be a little bit of sugar in the raisins that we added as well.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, it's at 1.100. I'm going to go with that because Lalvin 71B is a 14% yeast. This could still have a little bit of sugars leaching out. I'm only 20 points away, and I think it's mostly because I had more water in there already than we thought we did. So we might end up with a little more than a gallon. Oh no. What's next? Well, this is not going to be a wild fermentation. So as we said before, I am going to add Lalvin 71B. I'm using my general rule of thumb for yeast addition, and also I am pitching this yeast dry. It's going right in. I'm going to spread it around. I'm going to stir it up a little bit more with a spoon. But my normal rule is up to 3 gallons, use half a pack. Over 3 gallons, use a whole packet. At 3 gallons, your choice. So since I'm doing 1 gallon, roughly, half a packet. So it's an open one. Somebody always says, how come you always have open packets of 71B? Because I make a lot of stuff. We make a lot of 1 gallons. We do make 1 gallons on purpose. A lot of people have been asking, oh, can you make a bigger batch? Well, here's how you make a bigger batch. You want to make 5 gallons of this? Multiply everything I did by 5. That's it, except the yeast. That you just want to use a whole packet. Because there is a bag in here and it's going to float a little, this is a swirler. This is one that we're going to have to swirl every day at first until we get that bag out of there. So probably for the first week, I'm going to give this a swirl every day, which is not a bad idea to begin with anyway. It keeps everything active and moving around. Now, if you notice, I'm not being super gentle with this. That's because I don't mind a little oxygen in my first brews. People get confused on this. There's a lot of people out there saying never get oxygen into your brew, which is only true once primary fermentation is underway, okay? Until then, the yeast actually needs a certain amount of oxygen to build up a colony to start fermentation, because the yeast I put in there is not what's going to end up. It's going to go many generations and build a huge colony. Probably hundreds of times more yeast will be in this when it's done than are right now. And you need that because with just that little bit of yeast, it's not going to be able to do much of anything. So this is mixed up pretty good. Poked it around a little bit more. You can hear it, right? The sloshing. This goes back into turbos. Lid goes on. And we're going to add our airlock to this. And we filled it with sanitizer water. I don't recommend using plain old water. I definitely don't recommend using rubbing alcohol or anything like that. If you happen to have a cheap distilled product that you don't like we have this really crappy it's not bourbon, really crappy scotch that I don't like. We use that on occasion too. You put that in there. That will help let the gases escape and it keeps bugs from getting in. We do have videos on how to use airlocks and stuff like that. So right here and in the description. What's going to happen now? Well, that's a really good question. This is going to go probably over here somewhere because I have no more room under my desk and these buckets are big. But in that time, I'm going to give it some stirs. Between 2 and 4 weeks, that bag is probably going to come out. We're going to drain everything out. You'll see that in a video though, so there's no point in me telling you everything about it right now. Okay, so we started this on March 4th, 2020, and today is March 26th, 2020, which has been about 3 weeks. So what I want to do is remove this lid, make sure there's nothing untoward going on in here. Now, in this time, I have given this some shakes and some stirs. I didn't open the lid though. Today's the first time we opened the lid. What I'm seeing right off the bat, there's nothing growing that shouldn't be, okay? Yeast are growing.
It doesn't smell as pleasant as it did when we first made it, but
It smells boozy.
That's expected.
I smell alcohol. Okay, that's what I smell in this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we want to do is get the bag o' goop out. And it's nasty. I will totally admit, this is kind of gross. And we're going to take a reading on this once that's done.
Oh, Banana, what have we done to you?
Yeah, this is so far removed from a bit. So I'm going to leave this here, and it's going to drain for a while. Wash my hands. Be right back. Now, I want to be clear on something. I didn't have to remove that bag yet, okay? That could have stayed in here a while. I don't really feel there's any reason to leave it in there, and it's the longer it's in, the more of a risk it becomes, even though it's still a really small risk, okay? The risk is infection. The risk is mold growing. Nothing was wrong on there. It was fine. I'm going to take a reading, and we're going to see where we're at. Okay, so this topped out at 0.990 from 1.100. That is 15.9 ABV, roughly. It's up there. This is Lalvin 71B. It probably shouldn't have gone that high. Bananas? See, everybody likes bananas. We also have a bit of an issue here. We have a little over a gallon of wine, plus the juice that's in there, plus what's in here, that needs to get racked now, because I believe at 0.990, it's done. It's as done as it's going to be. Or is it? We could either rack this to secondary or conditioning, which I don't think is the right thing to do, or we can back sweeten this at this point. I think back sweetening is the answer. I would like to give this a tiny taste. I mean, I don't really want to because I don't think I'm going to enjoy it, but I would like to taste this just to see where it's at. Can you notice I didn't pour much? I do not think this is going to be pleasant. The last time I made banana wine, it really didn't taste good for like at least 6 months. So I'm expecting this to not be a great experience. All I smell is foot, alcohol, and a faint scent of like that overripe banana. It was more pleasant than I thought. The smell is not good. The smell is not good, although she's probably going to say something different. Bit of shit. Okay, what it tastes like. If you've ever had the really cheap imitation banana, that's what that tastes like to me right now. Making me wonder what that imitation banana really is. But anyway, what I would like to do with this, because it is super dry, okay? I know we like things in the 1.020 range, right? What kind of sugar did we use? We used brown sugar when we made this.
We used a combo of brown and white sugar.
Okay. That's right. We did white and
We
brown.
did 1 pound brown sugar and 1 1/4 pound white sugar.
I think I'd like to add another half a pound of sugar to this. Because a pound of sugar is 46 points. I believe the yeast is done, but it's at 990. So adding 26 points should bring this to like a 1.115 range, which is a semi-sweet. Then we let this mellow for a while in secondary, come back to it in a month and see how it is. So let's add half a pound of sugar and move on. All right, so last time we did this, we had problems weighing that plastic bucket on the scale. So I just squeezed out the bag, got all that extra juice out of there. Well, it's not juice now. Now it's banana wine. And we're going to add, like I say, half a pound of brown sugar. All right, so we got our 8 ounces or half a pound in here. And I'm already seeing an issue. If we have a little over a gallon and I'm putting 8 ounces in, it's not going to be the 26 points or, yeah, 23 points that I was hoping for. It's actually okay. It's still going to be 10-10 or a little higher gravity, which we are going to test that. And what I'm doing now is mixing this up a little bit before we put it in there. But I am going to mix that up real good. Before you get too concerned about aerating or oxygenating, first, all this stuff was cleaned up in
The red bucket of sanitization!
but everything's been cleaned, sanitized, and I'm not worried about oxidization because there's still plenty of gas coming out of this stuff. I mean, it's pretty gassy, but I do want to mix that sugar up. And we're just going to pour this in here. And I can see what a horrible job I did of mixing it. Now, people have said you could put the sugar into like your food processor or something, and sure, of course you can. To me, it's more trouble to put it into the food processor, clean up the food processor when that's done and bring it all over here and do that, than it is to just give a little extra starry. And in here, there's quite a bit of least solids and stuff in here. So because this could re-ferment, I want to kick up all that yeast and things just to see if it does, okay? I don't think it will, but if it does, I want to make sure it gets done before we think it's done, and then we bottle it and it's not done. See, bad things can happen that way. And if none of that made any sense, this is like our 15th video being done today. Sorry. Now, I just want to mix this up real good, make sure all that sugar gets dissolved. And if you're wondering why am I taking a reading now, it's because I want to know exactly how much more gravity I added to this must, so that I know when it'll be done, where it should be, all that good stuff.
So now that Brian has mixed this all up, all the particulates that had settled to the bottom are now floating around the top, making this look very questionable.
Oh yeah, this looks super yummy.
If you follow our instructions and follow the same process, you will see weirdness on the top of your brew at this point.
Oh yeah.
Don't freak out. We do too.
It looks kind of like if you take meat that has some fat in it, like with broth and stuff, and you put that in the fridge for a while, it kind of looks like it. All right, so I had said that this would go up to like 10, 10, 10, 15, and it is at 10, 10, 1.010. So I added 16 more points, which means I was right. That little bit of more than a gallon in here, but it's okay. It means in the end we get more than a gallon of wine. So my initial concern was that we were going to have to rack this, but I don't think we do. This is still primary fermentation. It's now a step feed or a back sweetening, however you want to look at it. But I think this can sit in this bucket for a little while longer. Gonna pop a lid back on this. It's gonna go back under the desk or floor or wherever. Our house is starting to fill up with brews. Trying to do a brew a week gets rough. And since nobody can leave the house, we can't really give this stuff to anybody right now. So we started this back in March and it's now July. So it's been quite some time. The last time we even looked at this was March 26th. So this has been sitting and now we're going to do its first real rack. We did remove the fruit and all that kind of thing, but we're going to do its first real rack today. And you know, first thing we do is take a reading right after I get the lid off. So I just wanted to show you guys a look inside this bucket. It's amazingly clear. It almost looks like there's gravel at the bottom. And what you're seeing there is the shadow of our microphone. That's kind of fun. So yeah, I just want to take a reading on this, make sure it's really done. We did back sweeten it a while back, back on, you know, March 26th, but it only went to 1010, 1.010. I'm afraid that might not be enough, and it might have actually fermented it out. Got to get a little sample, you know? Smells like alcohol. But let's just see, on the reading, 0.990. So this sucker went dry again. So what that means is, I'm going to back sweeten it yet again, but we're going to rack it first and then we'll back sweeten. For those curious, this is using 71B yeast, and I just did some quick figuring on this. It comes to over 17% alcohol. That's absurd. That just doesn't make sense to me that it could be 2% higher than the alcohol tolerance, but it's just to prove yeast cannot read, and everybody really likes bananas.
So as Brian said, the smell really does smell like alcohol. It definitely smells more like a liqueur or a higher proof spirit than it does a wine.
It's going to need some age to be really good. We knew that already, but now that it's going up in ABV, it's really going to need some time. Oh boy, is that dry. You know what though? As dry as that is, it's not bad. It's actually not.
And it still has residual banana.
Yeah. That's not bad at all. This is going to be great in about a year. So I have two choices at this point. I can back sweeten this and let it sit for, 6 months to a year before we bottle it. Or I can just let it, we can rack it and just let it sit. I'm actually unsure what to do. Keep in mind, folks, this is not pre-scripted. I didn't know what this was going to do. I really assumed it was going to be, at 1.010 gravity because we back sweetened. Just goes to show, you never know what's going to happen. Always be careful of that fermentation. The fact that it did go to 0.990 really worries me because that means if I back sweeten this now, it might just ferment more.
Yeah.
But that means if I don't back sweeten it now and we let it sit for 6 months to a year and then I back sweeten it, it'll ferment more then, making it even longer until we can actually drink this. So I think we're going to back sweeten today.
All right, so that leads to another question. How much do you intend to add volume to back sweeten it? And are we still going to just use the jug or are we going to go to another bucket?
Okay, so something else is coming up, and this is a logistical question. It is now in a bucket. I see a lot of lees, probably about that. Oh, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
There's about that much lees at the bottom of there.
This is where the liquid level is, and as Brian said, that is about where the lees level is.
So I'm seeing a gallon. So here's what I'm thinking. We're going to let chance decide what we do. We're going to rack this into a 1 gallon fermenter, and if there's any space, we'll add some sugar. If not, we'll let it sit for a while.
After all, space is the final frontier.
Space, the final frontier.
All right, so we're going to start the racking process. And we need some elevation, also known as levitation. So we use Wibble, the white bucket of levitation.
Hello.
Sorry for all the cartoons, guys. It's just one way to really pound the idea in your head of the stuff that you really have to do. And, it's silly. Silly is good. If you can't be silly, call me. I'll be silly. That's not how the joke goes, but I don't care. All right, so what I want to do is put this in here. And there's so much yeast in this guy that I don't want to go to the bottom. So I'm just going to go like partway in and get it started. So 2 important things about racking. 1 is you want to watch where you're sucking from. You want to make sure that you don't suck up yeast. And 2, you want to make sure that your hose is all the way at the bottom of the fermenter. Because if it's up here, you're splashing, and that could cause oxidation. For this guy, vinegar's not really an issue because he's well over 15%. But oxidation can still cause a weird flavor and like a sherry finish to your wine, which in some cases could be a very good thing, but in others, not so much. I'd rather have control over whether that happened other than it happening all on its own. Okay, so we finished racking and we had an extra half-gallon fermenter laying around. We thought, you know, I'd really like to back sweeten this now because we already know we're going to need to. It doesn't taste horrible, but I know with some sweetness we'll like it that much better. But I'm also afraid that it might re-ferment, so I didn't want to, you know, anyway. So let's add some brown sugar to this. We put white and brown sugar in it initially. So what I'm going to do today is add, I would say, as much as I can fit in there. Probably a ½ pound is all I'm going to be able to fit. Because really this is a test to see, is this going to re-ferment? So I'll check it again in a few weeks, and if it re-fermented, then we'll deal with it again at that point. So for today, ½ pound, 8 ounces. That's 224 grams. Okay, so now that I have the brown sugar in here, I need to shake the bejesus out of this. There should be no bejesus left in here.
You should be 99.9% bejesus free.
99 44/100%.
99 44/100% pure.
Before anybody tells me I can do this all different ways, during the lockdown, I haven't exercised all that much. I could use this. It's also degassing, which is a good sign. That means anybody that was worried about me oxidizing this by doing it this way, not going to happen. It's going to force all that, any oxygen that got in there, it's going to force it right out. No worries. We've totally changed the color of it already. For those of you wondering what we're going to do with this, join the club. I'm not really sure what to do with it either. My best guess is we'll probably keep that in the fridge because I don't really want to just leave that out. It just becomes things you didn't intend. Speaking of that, it always cracks me up when somebody says, "Oh, I don't want to spoil my wine." You do know that wine is actually spoiled grapes, right? Like that's technically what it is. Fermentation is part of the putrefaction process and decaying process of nature. All right, I think the bejesus has left the room. So because this is brown sugar and I used ½ pound, it probably should be somewhere in the like 1.013 range when finished, and we'll see how close I got it to. Love it when a plan comes together. 1.014. 1 gravity point different than exactly ½ pound. I'm good with that. Yes, I'm pouring this back in. Now, I did pour off just a tiny sample. Ironically enough, it smells exactly the same. Improved it significantly. I think it still needs a lot of age, but I think it will be very good in time. Okay, so put an airlock back on it, and this is going to sit for a while. However, in about 2 to 3 weeks, I will check this again just to see if it's still fermenting. Did that just bubble?
Yeah.
The mystery deepens.
Well, this one didn't get degassed,
Yeah,
so
it didn't get degassed.
It's degassing.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a little bit of drama, okay? You know, you need that every once in a while.
I ruined it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. She's cute, so she's allowed. When last we left this, it was about 3 weeks ago, and it was at 1.014 gravity after putting a ½ pound of brown sugar into it. So what I want to do is take a reading on this and make sure it's really ready to rack and go away, you know, for aging. And by reading, I mean specific gravity. You know, we use this in the hydrometer and the poor man's wine thief. We know the rules by now. Lovely clarity, really nice clarity, which we knew that already. This one cleared out really nicely. This had also gone down to 0.990 twice on us already. So I expected it did again. But you never know. Maybe not. We'll make sure the hydrometer is floating, not bouncing around and all that sort of thing. And, oh, look at that, 1.014. So it is stable now. It's stopped from the last time. Something a lot of people are talking about is bubbles again. I don't know where they're getting the ideas from. Counting bubbles doesn't actually show you anything. I had someone say, well, I heard that when it's down to 30 bubbles a minute that it's ready to rack. And I'm like, okay, first, 30 bubbles a minute sounds pretty active to me. And second, who told you that? Because that's nowhere near ready to rack. Don't go by bubbles. Use SPGR, specific gravity readings. It's the only really reliable way to know. If you don't have a hydrometer, here's how you do it. Let this sit for like 8 weeks before you even touch it. That way you're pretty much assured fermentation's done. No, there's no harm in doing that. I'm gonna get a little sample here. Now prior to that little rant, let me explain what happened. We had back sweetened this one twice already, and it actually fermented the first time. The second time it didn't, which means it's done. We have reached the yeast tolerance or surpassed it, so it's done. A little bit of residual sweetness. Speaking of yeast tolerance and surpassing that, let's find out what the ABV is. Now, because we back sweetened, this one's a little bit different. Before anybody freaks out, I sanitized my phone. Okay, this started at 1.100. We added, oh wait, let me just do this. So it started at 1.100, right? It went down to 0.990. So that's 1.100 minus 0.990. That means we used 110 points, or 0.110 of gravity. Now, we added half pound. That made it go from 0.990 to 1.010. So that's 20 points, but don't count those 20 points yet. What we want is the 1.010 back down to 0.990 that it did. Yes, it's confusing, and I'm very sorry, but that's 20 points used. So I add 0.02 to the 110 number. Let me go over that one more time really quickly because I know that was confusing. We started at 1.100. It went to 0.990. So we used that much gravity. We then added more sugars. Doesn't even matter how much we added. It matters where we got it to, which is 1.010. It went back down to 0.990 at that point. That's 20 more points. You add up the used gravity from both of those, multiply that by 135, and that gives you your final ABV. Don't worry about the final gravities and things like that. That doesn't really matter because it didn't ferment that. It's only what got fermented. I hope that made more sense. Anyway, our ABV for this, now keep in mind, we used
Blauvin 71 Beast,
which is a 14% yeast, 17.55%. So this just goes to prove yeast can't read, and ours were just overachievers.
We've also heard that yeast likes bananas.
Banana seems to be a very, very powerful nutrient for yeasts. All right, so what we want to do is give this a taste because we want to make sure that no adjustments are needed before we bottle this, because once you bottle, you can't change it.
We're thinking since our gravity didn't change and we did give it a preliminary taste, it's probably going to be fine, but we just want to make sure.
Let me take some notes. Okay, so like we always like to do, just going to give this a little bit of a swirl, get the fumes going, give it a smell. It definitely smells of banana. A little bit of alcohol in there, which I'm not surprised. It's 17.5%. This is pretty strong stuff.
It reminds me of banana bread. So it's
Yes.
not just banana, it's almost a cooked banana smell.
That's the brown sugar. The brown sugar and banana just gives that bananas Foster kind of idea. I think this is really interesting. I haven't tasted it yet, though.
When we started this project, I was like, ooh. And now I'm like, ooh. Okay? So you see the difference. Ew. Ooh. This is good drinking. And I'm shocked because the whole murky...
Oh, she was not happy.
I was just like, why? Why would you do that to a perfectly good banana? Well, this is why. This is good stuff.
I knew. I've made it before. I knew. She didn't like the one I made before. This is much better than the one I made before. The other one was a little bit more sweet, had a little more of that false banana flavor.
Yes.
It was a little more, it
This
was just too much. This is balanced really nice.
I'm really excited to wait 6 months to a year where we do our actual tasting and give you all the notes because there is a complexity to this that's shocking to me and very good.
By the way, at 1.014, you would think this is just a semi-sweet. It tastes sweet. Like the banana flavor really comes through, making it taste sweeter than it actually is. I'm so happy about this. This is really, really good. This is better than I
So
thought.
to answer the question, is it ready to bottle? Yes, it is.
Heck yeah. Okay, so we are going to be bottling now, and we're bottling direct from the fermenter today. We don't normally do that, but I looked. There's such little release in the bottom of this. Not worried. A lot of the time in secondary, you'll get a thicker layer. This is like literally a dusting. Not really all that concerned. So we're just going to be careful when we get towards the bottom.
Because we're leaving our cap on, which is going to help prevent sucking up any of that lees.
Exactly. We used to think years ago that this cap was an optional protection. It's not at all. It's actually there to keep you from sucking up lees. So you can go like a 1/4 inch to almost a 1/2 inch deep into lees, and it shouldn't suck that up. Kind of neat, huh? All right, Derek is going to hold the bottle for a moment. I'm going to put this in here. Okay. You have to push down on the bottling wand or else the flow won't start. So once I get this going, something like that, I can go all the way to the bottom of this jar, and it shouldn't really have anything to pick up.
Sure, you can take over.
And now we bottle. Very simple. You just use the wand until it gets to the top, pull it out, put it in the next bottle. So we'll probably fast forward this part. Okay, so we got 4 and almost a 5th bottle out of this one. This one's not quite all the way up in the neck, so we'll refrigerate that, probably drink it a little sooner rather than later, just in case. These others though, one of those is gonna go away for a year, and then we're gonna revisit it and drink it again. So this is our banana wine. I unfortunately do not have a final gravity for this, but I remember it being like in the 1030 to 1040 range. It was pretty much on the sweet side. But the big number here is 17.55% ABV. I remember that. Woo-hoo. And I remember this being one of those wines that people were like, I don't know about this one. It's kind of funky looking, kind of crazy to make. But look at that. This thing is beautiful. After a year, I can only imagine. Some for the lady.
Thank you. Right off the bat, it's reminding me of a whiskey.
Yeah, it's got a really rich color. Oh, it definitely does look like a whiskey.
Yeah.
It's golden.
Yeah.
Hint of red, but mostly golden. I like that. Looks cool.
And it's funny thinking back on when we made this, the making process for this is really bizarre. And if you've never done it before, you just kind of look at it going,
mashed up bananas aren't really the most attractive thing.
And so to get from there to here is like, wow, that's impressive.
But seriously, this color, and this is crystal clear.
Yes.
There is a tiny amount of dust type sediment at the bottom of the bottle. Nothing to really worry about. That just means that more proteins and tannins fell out over time. But it's crystal clear. The smell?
The smell reminds me of
the candy banana.
A Bananas Foster.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting
rum.
A banana and caramel
I get rum.
And rum.
I actually get rum.
What's wrong with rum?
Caramel. She says caramel. I say caramel.
I actually say it both ways. I don't really have a particular pronunciation for that word.
It's caramel.
Probably because I don't have a particular love for that word.
Yeah, it's not one of our favorite things.
But I do have appreciation with it in certain applications. And so in this application, I think I appreciate it.
On the smell, though, it smells a little bit sweet. I get kind of a cotton candy, candy banana with the caramel. I do smell the ethanol, but it's not overly strong. For almost 18%, I would have thought I'd smell more ethanol. It seems to have blended quite a bit.
I don't know if it's just a memory thing or something, but I'm leaning towards spice cake.
Yeah, it does seem to. I don't really remember if we put any spices
or in like your banana bread.
Yeah, it smells like my banana bread that I put nutmeg and cinnamon in. Anyway, short sip time. Now, what you do with your short sip is you just get it in your mouth, get it down. Quick sip is a more appropriate term. And that way you just acclimate your body to that 17.55% alcohol.
1, 2, 3, go.
Ooh. It's very smooth. It's very rich.
Yes. I had to, you saw my hands there, right? I had to be like, no, we're going to swallow this. Just get it down. Yeah.
It fills your mouth. It's got a good mouthfeel to it, but it's really smooth. I remember this having a little bit of a rough edge when it was younger. Ooh, not anymore. Now it is like,
It's reminding me of something that was oaked.
oh yeah, this feels like something that, the French oak. This is, I can only imagine what this would be like if we put it on French oak. It'd be so smooth you wouldn't even taste it anymore. Like it might be too much. This might be something that is not worth oak aging because I think there's so much going on for it.
I'm ready for my long sip because
now we're going to do the long sip because I'm acclimated. I'm ready.
Good thing.
That's where you just leave it in your mouth for a while and you really get to experience all the flavors. Now, the way I do the long sip is I leave it in there for a while, and you probably saw I swallowed halfway through. I'll swallow about half of it, and then I'll switch it around a little bit more and get more. I get the ethanol, but not till the middle to the end. In the very beginning, it's candy banana. Just right off the bat, candy banana. There's some good tannin and acid to this that in the middle really balances out that sweetness of the banana.
Oh yeah, this is delightful. I know I told Brian after we made the first batch that I was like, I don't really want to make this ever again. I have changed my mind.
Yeah, guys, this is really good. There's some heat from that ethanol, though.
There is.
I think
But
if it didn't have that ethanol, that this wouldn't be as good, though, because it might be too sweet.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I like the complexity. I enjoy the different notes that I'm getting from it. I am experiencing a much more complicated experience than what I anticipated. Like, this isn't just banana. This is banana. This is spices. This is...
Yep. I drank a lot of this when it was
this
young and
is-
really enjoyed it, but this is so much better.
The sweetness and the spiciness and the... Like Brian said, the tannins and the acids. You get all of those things, but it's not discordant at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lovely chorus of notes. And
When we say something is balanced and smooth, we don't use the term smooth very often because it's not really a great descriptor. When I say smooth, what I mean is some meads are meant to have rough edges, like a capsaicin has a little bit of a roughness and it's meant to be a little bit aggressive. This is more of a dessert mead. It's meant to be an aperitif. It's meant to be something that you enjoy for its flavors, complexity, depth, and even sweetness. Now, this is definitely a dessert style, but it doesn't have to be. I could see having this with food, and we'll get to that in a couple minutes. I can also see just putting this in a mug and drinking it. However, you don't want to have a lot because you will get drunk on this.
and that brings the smoothness aspect into play as well, because we know it is a higher ABV.
1.5 times most of what we make.
We anticipate that would be reflective in the beverage itself. It is not. It is just like, hello, I'm a nice, happy little thing. I certainly don't have 17%.
To
alcohol.
quote some other famous people that like whiskey, it's dolphin smooth. It really is. Haven't heard that one in a while, have you?
I have the dolphin noise in my head now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not making the dolphin. But the complexity level on this is off the charts. There's so much going on. There's flavors in here that I know we didn't add. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of a raisiny note that there might have been raisins. I don't know. We intentionally don't watch the old videos. Some people have called me out for this because we made a mistake in what we said. Okay, we're going to make mistakes in what we think might have been added, but instead I'm not going to guess. I'm getting a raisiny note. There may or may not have been raisins in it. I'm getting a little bit of cinnamon, nutmeg, and even an allspice note that I'm pretty sure we didn't add. Maybe we did.
Yeah. I don't think we added any spices.
I don't think we did at all.
I'm getting, similar to you, a spectrum of spices.
Oh, yeah. But they're not like bang, hit you in the face.
No.
But they're there. If you think about what you're tasting, you really do get some of these spice notes. And that's what's awesome about tastings. I'm sorry, let me finish the thought. That's what's awesome about tastings is your brain wants to fill in the blanks. When it doesn't know what something is, it calls back on memories and other experiences you've had and says, oh, that tastes like this or that tastes like that. That's like in The Matrix when they say everything tastes like chicken. Same concept. It's because it's an easy way for your brain to fill in that blank and make something taste like something you're familiar with so you can relate to it and relate to the world around you. That's exactly the way the brain is made to work. And it works wonderfully for tastings if you kind of just open your mind to it and let it happen rather than just suck it down real fast and, just worry about the alcohol. We do this for the taste more so than for the alcohol.
I really like this.
Imagine if Hagrid gave you a hug and patted you on the back.
Yeah.
You know it's meant to be really nice, but it might hurt just a little
It's out
bit.
of love, but you're welcome.
It's a Hagrid hug. That's what this is. This is a Hagrid hug. The best way I could describe it. Okay, let me get this down. Are you ready with a score? We're gonna have to do that.
We have to score this. It's undefiable.
1, 2, 3,
9.5.
Okay.
We honestly
That almost never happens.
It's spontaneous when we do the numbers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
We
not
don't
planned.
confer.
Somebody thought that was planned. We don't plan that.
we don't confer.
We don't taste this ahead of time. We don't know what we're gonna do, and we don't talk off camera.